Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trenergy Awakens Naturally. So I was at my horse farm today. I work at a horse farm, a therapeutic riding farm. We're off on our lessons right now. We're on our winter break. However, I had to be out there to feed and do some mucking and horse care and stuff. And I got this beautiful download when I was out there. So I wanted to share that with you today. That this is a similarity between the wounding of a human being is similar to wounding of a horse, and how we respond. And I really was getting some good information about that today regarding the horses and how it plays out in horse world versus how it plays out in human world. So when we as people have trauma, and wounding, etc., we're not treated well. We're not treated with respect. We're not treated kindly. Sometimes we're heavily abused, neglected. Maybe we're not having somebody physically lay hands, but we're not getting love. We're not being respected in any way, or we're being neglected, period, of the basic needs. We're getting very little of the basic needs and that much less anything else. That's a form of abuse, of course. However, anything that ranges from physical all the way to the emotional, it's all out of balance and does not serve us as we're growing and maturing and getting to know people, and it's locking into our neurological system what life is and how we're going to be responding to it, how we feel and in different situations, and how we feel about ourselves. And horses are the same way. They're very highly empathic animals, very much like humans. We have the ability to be quite empathic, which is different than empathetic. Empathic is really feeling the feelings of the energy in a room or another person. Empathy is a slightly different, that I've been in a similar situation, so I understand how that feels. Empathic people generally can really feel the feeling, yeah, whether that's ever happened to me before, man, I get the sensation of that. And horses are high empaths. They understand, those feelings at a very core level, so they're great feedback, but they also experience trauma, loss, neglect, etc., very similarly in many ways. And so today when I was out there, we have a horse that she had severe trauma around her ears. I don't know exactly what happened to her. I've heard a couple of different stories about it, but basically the basic story is that she was used in such a way that there was a training device used on her ears. It's not a legal training device in the United States. She's from out of town, so I don't know exactly what it is. It's not here in the US, so I don't know, but it's something that manipulates their ears in such a way that encourages them very cruelly to do what they're being asked to do or told to do or made to do, forced to do, with pain as the association. So she is very supercharged and hella protective of her ears. She doesn't let anybody get near her ears. She doesn't like to be petted anywhere close to her eyes or her ears, God forbid, and it's well known among the handlers that, don't touch her ears. She does not like that at all, and this is something that you will cause an immediate, terrorized horse event if you really press that at all. So please be aware of what you're doing. And she can be very reactive with it if she even thinks that you're coming near her. She's very standoffish. She does not engage people very well. Her bubble is large, and she likes to keep it that way. And she can be a bit of a bully, to kind of push other people and horses away from her. She's used to being kind of the alpha by being a bully, which is not a typical mare, female horse way of doing things, to be a bully straight out. They're usually a little more collaborative and mother-esque without being quite so domineering, but she's got trauma, so she's very similar to females, males too, but females, anybody that's been harmed in the past, we get kind of that bubbleized, I need 6 feet, please back up, and step away and don't come near me, because I'm letting you know with my eye contact that I'm not digging it, or I'm putting out that vibe of just stay away from me, or I'm self-protecting, or you get near me and I'm going to be, juking and jiving to make sure that I'm protected. And sometimes she will actively, move in the direction not to deliberately cause harm to humans. I haven't seen that. However, I've seen her, kind of toss her head back to move someone out of the way, horse-wise. And with humans, I have seen her, look like they don't bare teeth the way that dogs do, but they don't have any problem with, you know, letting some part of their body be looking the most fierce, if that's going to get your attention, you know, that she kind of will gum and look like she's going to mouth, you know, and what she actually will do is nip, you know. So it's not that she's doing this to be cruel or to bait people or like, oh, isn't she cute, I'm going to bite them now. It's that's just her way, you know, of, I really want you to leave me alone, I don't like this experience. And you know, it's very uncomfortable for her to have people in her space, and yet there's a way that people can be in her space, people that are obtuse and aren't picking up, you know, the cues of what this animal needs. You know, how can I best honor and respect your boundaries? What can I do, you know, to take into consideration that you have this trauma, you know, around your ears? How may I best serve the situation by coming in and working with you, because you do have a job here at the farm, you're part of the program, and so it's necessary, and she has to go and see the farrier and, you know, be moved around and stuff, and there's a polite way that we have to do this, so there's a minimum standard for behavior. Then how is it that some people would be able to do that without a problem and others wouldn't? And it's by honoring the fact that her reactionary response to the trauma that she's experienced is quite normal, and it's quite okay, and that it would be weird if she did not have, you know, anything from that experience. It's not that we can expect her not to have some sort of sensitivity towards that. However, it just because we say, oh, stop, you know me, or you know, what's your problem, or just because we would think as a horse handler that, well, that's dumb, or we ignorantly do not know that that's a problem, if we can't pick up the cues of her backing out, or, you know, starting to look like she's going to nip, or, you know, throw a hoof or something, you know, then we're not paying attention to, even if we don't have history on someone, if we see them engaging in those behaviors, you know, with, I'm not really comfortable with this, I'm looking around, I'm feeling a sense of being trapped, I'm feeling a sense of, I really don't like this, I don't like where your hands are going, what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're acting, how you're presenting. We do this a lot whenever we're dealing with people, and we want them to just be okay because we think our intention is not to cause harm. However, if we're relying on horse or human, either one, to come from their most primal spot that's got an injury that we're flicking hard, it's going to react from that primal spot of, oh my God, I'm terrorized, what the hell, you know, they might be going for my ears, they might be causing me pain here in a second. Horse is human, it doesn't matter. If we're not being handled or respected, or people aren't picking up that I'm very uncomfortable with this situation, or they're not listening to us say, I'm very uncomfortable with this situation, you know, it taps into the most primal part of us, the most reptilian part of us, the least finessed part of us, the least graceful part of us, will give us those very raw, primal, guttural reactions where we are throwing hands and eating people. Same with horses, you know, we're triggered to our most primal spot depending on how terrorized we are from whatever it is that we're experiencing. So I've seen this horse, you know, I before I really started working with her a whole lot, I had been told ahead of time, you know, don't mess with her ears. Like, cool. Well, I had forgotten about that, and yet, you know, I also know very well that I'm not about to enter a stall with a horse, you know, and not, you know, not give them plenty of space, because that's a small area, and, you know, the kick zone is definitely almost 100% going to always capture you, especially when they spin around to make sure they get you, if they didn't the first time. And that's just, you know, it's a bad practice not to honor the fact that this is a 1,000-pound animal. And so I walked in and, you know, trying to get to know her and just letting her smell me, and I needed to take some fly boots off of her, put them on or something. I needed to do something at her feet, so not at her head. And I had forgotten about, you know, the extreme sensitivity. I knew they said, you know, she doesn't wear a fly mask, you know, she doesn't like it, etc. So okay, but I stood up and I went to go raise my hand to, you know, just kind of move her a little bit further away from me so that, you know, we weren't jammed up quite so close to one another. And when I did, she flinched and reared back real quick, and it dropped in quickly, thank goodness, I remembered. But it was so curious to me that it didn't take but just, I wasn't even reaching for her head, I was reaching just to kind of put a little bit of an energetic wall of, I need some space here, because I just stood up and, needed to get my bearing again about where we had kind of wandered to in the stall a bit, with me bent over putting these boots on her. And so I just put my hand up to try to make sure that I knew, where she was in relationship to me. So I wasn't even reaching for her sensitive spot. However, that's how protective and aware she was of where I was. And so, when we're not aware of, or we're not willing to catch the signs of people are traumatized, we all have our own things. And I'm not saying everybody walking around has PTSD exactly. However, everybody has anxiety on some level. We live in a fairly hostile environment, no matter where we are. I live in the U.S. and it's pretty janky sometimes, depending on where you are. People are dangerous sometimes, and I don't believe in subscribing to it's a dangerous, terrible world out there. I also don't subscribe to that it's bubbles, sunshine, and unicorn farts. I'm very aware of what's really going on, and that definitely look for those situations where people are acting well and they're kind and they're gracious and polite, etc. However, I'm not an idiot. I know that isn't the norm across the board everywhere that I may go, unless I live, in a bubble somewhere, and I don't. So, when we're coming up across situations where we have known, trauma in someone, or we're not picking up the signs, when we see that someone is throwing hands or hooves, or it's getting started, we have a choice that we can make. I could have been butthurt and offended. What's your effing problem? I didn't even reach for you. And I don't see the point in that. But, humans, we get upset because we think, well, I wasn't even reaching for you. What is your problem? That could have been my argument. Or it could be that, well, she should just get over it. I can't tell you how many people that I have said, 1111, thank you, that I used to have some real trigger points in some very anxious situations where it was a severe meltdown. Like, I can't do that. Please don't. Well, what's your problem with that? It's been so long, or I heard a lot of reasons why that was an unreasonable response in my body, that it would just make me lock up in some places and feel terrified. And until I could desensitize myself to that experience in the most appropriate way and receive the help in the most appropriate way, it wasn't going to get better. And believe me, 1144, the least helpful thing I ever heard was, well, aren't you over that by now? Or what's your problem with that? It's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not that big of a deal for you, is what you mean to say. However, it's a hell of a big deal for me, and I'd appreciate it if you would really honor that. So what I'm encouraging is that when we walk into a situation, horse or not, if we're empathic people and we understand, we can really feel the sensations of that. The key is to not feel those sensations so deep that we get triggered by it, or to not take a hold of the situation and start leveling that out as quickly as possible, and co-regulating with whoever. Horses are very, very good at co-regulating nervous systems with, because they're empathic too. And once they, really feel that on an energetic level, you can really start establishing some stuff in a faster, better way to build that rapport quickly. Humans are a little trickier because, we have all kinds of miscommunications and bullshit, quite frankly, that we're doing to one another. But if we can learn very quickly to not take too much offense with people's trauma and what they're doing and what they're handing us, and really get inside with, what is it in me that wants to blame this other person or wants to put it back on them? Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I can't say that I understand everybody's triggers. However, people didn't understand mine either. And it didn't matter that, I'm not obligated to explain to you why something is a problem. I'm asking you to please honor that it is, and go from there. And so when I see people that are in those spaces, or I see horses, or see that vulnerability, it can be really difficult sometimes, because there are times when I have to just step out and let that melt down and do its own thing, because it's too dangerous to mess with. And unfortunately, humans, we set ourselves up for failure sometimes whenever we go in with the premise that we're here to save the world, or that the world needs to be saved. None of that is true. If a horse is acting out, a human is acting out, a dog is acting out, it doesn't matter who or what it is. There's something in my environment that is acting out, and it is a safety issue for me, emotionally, financially, sexually, spiritually, energetically, whatever level it might be, any bit of that. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. It doesn't matter how long it's been going on. It doesn't matter. None of those details matter. The immediate need is to cease and desist on this and pull my energy out of it so that I can help to de-escalate and encourage the regulation of that nervous system and those weird trauma responses and those weird, tappings of things that agitate people for whatever reason they do. I don't have to understand why someone is bothered or what somebody is bothered about or any of that, or of course any situation. I don't have to understand all the deets of that to see if I'm watching carefully and I'm using that empathic skill, rather than being paranoid all the time, just catch the scene and read the room very carefully that, oh, once I see that this is developing nightmare here, or it's a developing disaster, or I feel stuff that just, I don't know what it is. However, doop, I'm out. I've got to go now because there's nothing I can do here. That the best I can do is be regulating my own system of how do I reach back into that balanced state, and do I offer something to this situation. Once I reach that, is there something I can offer to this situation, or is it de-escalating with me? Is it co-regulating with me, or is it choosing to still amp up, ramp up, and turn into something that I don't want to be a part of that 15-15? And if I want to be a part of that, that's really not a conversation probably that they're having with me. Not one I'm going to have with them, because I don't like things to get out of control like that. I dislike that a whole lot. And so if I've got something on the other side of that, horse or not, I've let horses go that were just having a whole conniption fit, and it's too dangerous. So we're going to have to figure out how to regulate that system and bring it back to balance in a different way. And I'm down for that. However, humans, we're complicated and we get real snitty and real personal and stuff. Horses don't get personal. It's really not like that, but humans do. And so it can be very difficult to deal with humans and remember that that's an injury of some kind that's rearing up its ugly head, spitting on me and blaming it on me and believing that I'm the one that's causing it. It's really difficult to manage over there, and I understand all that. However, that's not my work here. I don't deal with feral things that are trapped, in bear traps when they're trying to eat me. I'm aware of the fact that that's an injury, and I have great compassion for that. However, if there's not something I'm going to do to serve that situation except make it worse, or blindly keep, poking because I'm kind of sadistic or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that humans really twist each other up in knots. I'm not about any of it, and I'm certainly not about anybody doing it to me. Then I don't want to be promoting it or elongating it in anybody else. And so as difficult as it is sometimes to, see people that I know are in pain, or situations where it would be an easy fix if nothing. If it's not an easy fix with me, doing, okay, let me not add to this. If me not adding to it isn't enough to kind of de-escalate that, then there's nothing I'm going to add right now. See ya. And we'll have to try that again, maybe. I don't know. But what I'm going to say, though, is that we have a lot of people that are very dysregulated right now on the planet. There's a lot that's coming down in terms of old structures, old beliefs, old paradigms. Everything that we ever knew is moving into new earth, and age of Aquarius. So there's a lot that's changing, 1717, 88, that's constantly changing, and weird feelings that are coming up as a result of people letting go and, surrendering old ideas, and they're moving into their awakening, their enlightenment, etc. And so we're all in different stages of that, and having a great deal of sensitivity and compassion for the trauma that another being has sustained is a very necessary skill to develop. And it's very necessary for the healing overall of ourselves and other people on the planet. However, as much as I want to, really help this horse that's had the trauma, there's not a thing that I can do if she's not interested in doing that with me. So the best that I can do is, work to the capacity that she will allow me, and then back out and move off from that. Same with people that, as much compassion as I have, if somebody's going to be abusive and nasty and keep acting out all of that trauma and drama, they're not ready yet to let go of it. The best I can do is to leave them alone to deal with whatever it is that they have to get done in their world, whatever way that they're doing it, without my judgment, my stank, or my cynicism or sarcasm on it, to the best of my ability, and to offer up support from a distance to say, I see that you're struggling with this, and I'm out. Regardless of how personal it might get, for me to get butthurt and personalized with it definitely is an indicator for me personally that if I got, butt hurt to that degree with somebody or some situation, that means go home, Kate, and take a look at that, because there shouldn't be anything that would be so personally driven and spit at you that you would take in and really feel affected by. There's something there, that there's a reason that that's affecting you. And that's the kind of inventory that needs to be done so that we're not out doing that very thing. However, we're not all in the same timeline. We're not all doing the same thing. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful to you in some way, and that you enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in. And remember to get within your skin, because that's where your sentience is. Your soul is right here within. And we can get good indication and good information out here about where we are in our healing journey, and how much we can do to help ourselves by really paying attention to what's going on out here, and not re-injuring ourselves, or not believing that we have to subjugate ourselves to the healing of another person. I mean, there's a whole lot of different dynamics. However, it really begins with getting inside our skin, getting in here, and really coming to grips with, this is me, this is my own energetic imprint, this is my signature right here, my energetic signature, this is me. Then I know what I feel, I know what I'm about, and I know how I feel as my baseline. Then it means when a horse rears up in my face, or a human, gets janky with me, or gets silly, or says something real personal, that, it's easier, because I understand that, there's a dissonance there. If I know what my home frequency is already, I already know what my home harmony is, I know where concert A is in me, then even if somebody throws me, some really off the wall dissonance, then I can come back to that harmonic balance much more easily. But that's a learned skill. It doesn't come just because we want it to. I haven't found anything worth having comes for free, exactly. So it usually takes some sort of dedication and work to hone the skills. So anyway, take care of yourself. As I said, enjoy your day and get within your skin, because you're divine. It's absolutely gorgeous, and totally fine. Take care of your gorgeous selves, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye, friends.